not allowed? Is he not an expert? Is he not allowed to be interviewed?
He's certainly not an expert. He can be interviewed. I've watched Pat Buchanan debate. I watched Pat Buchanan debate against Churchill historians, and he was absolutely leveled because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
When did Pat Buchanan debate and get leveled?
About 20 years ago.
I'm just
He
curious.
debated against Andrew Roberts and several other historians.
And Douglas Murray is an actual smart
in
person.
London. I was there. He didn't know what he was talking about. He
Based.
had a contrary view, and it was interesting and stimulating to hear.
Based.
But if you only get the contrary view, which is...
Enjoy. This will be the last time this guy's ever brought back here before. Oh, thank you. Thank you. There's a person who knows what they're talking about. For once! There's a person who knows what they're talking about on this podcast. There's a person who knows. There's a person who knows.
Isn't it fun if we all pretend Churchill was the bad guy?
How is he there in the first place? I think it's because I think Douglas Murray probably hates Islam a little more than he should, maybe. But I mean, listen, Europeans live with a different type of Islam than I do, so I'm not here to judge. I don't know what his current views are, but...
Which is, isn't it fun if we all pretend Churchill was the bad guy of the 20th century? At some point, you're going to lead people down a path where they think that's the view. And that's horse shit of the most profound kind.
Ooh.
I don't think that's what he's trying to do.
I think that's exactly what they're doing. And the problem is that because your own platform has come about because you're a very successful comedian and much more, and you do ask questions, and you are interested. But there are a lot of people who have come along,
to take advantage
partly,
of that.
I think, because they've come on this show, who have come along and they've decided, I can play this double game. On the one hand, I'm going to push really edgy and frankly sometimes horrific opinions, and then if you say that's wrong, they say I'm a comedian.
But wait a minute, no.
Oh my God! Who is this based man? I'm just a comedian. I don't know. I'm a little comedian.
How can you tell me I'm just a comedian?
Well,
I'm just throwing stuff out.
What horrific opinions that's wrong are you talking about? Specifically.
Come on.
Once guys like this get into very obvious stuff, which is
guys like Daryl,
the ones I'm describing.
You need to listen to Daryl to really understand what he's saying. If you take Daryl's words...
Oh, yeah. For that debate take, Joe Rogan knows this, by the way. Because Joe Rogan has challenged people before. Peter, if you claim what RFK is saying is misinformation, I'm offering you $100,000 to the charity of your choice if you're willing to debate him on my show with no time limit. Joe, you have my cell, my email. I'm always willing to speak with you. This is a non-answer. I challenged you publicly because you publicly quote tweeted and agreed with that dogshit Vice article. If you're really serious about what you stand for, you now have a massive opportunity for a debate that will reach the largest audience a discussion like this has ever had. If you think someone else is better qualified, suggest that person. But now, why should he have to debate? Ian, why should he have to debate his idea? That doesn't mean anything. Like, oh my God.
Out of context. Daryl has some of the most nuanced, balanced, and charitable views on all the figures in history.
Well, particularly Hitler, it seems.
No, you're wrong.
Then he should ask him. Douglas should ask him. Because people do this thing where they say you're nuanced when what they really mean is you're a contrarian, literally, right? Like, oh, the Holocaust wasn't all that bad. Wow. All right, it's very nuanced. Oh, just curious. Does he have a nuanced take on anything that's not directly contradictory to what an entire field thinks? Just curious. Like, do you think he has a nuanced take on if mRNA vaccines are good for you? Do you think he has a nuanced take on whether or not we obsess over fluoride too much? Do you think he has a nuanced take on whether or why is it that the nuanced takers only have a nuanced and highly critical take when it comes to what a field is established? That's not a nuanced take. You're just somebody's arguing against a field.
Oh, he doesn't. What did he call him? How did he describe him?
I think he compared him to a methed out psychopath who was holding an entire nation of people hostage, I believe.
Like,
he doesn't. What did he call him? How did he describe him?
I think he compared him to a methed out psychopath who was holding an entire nation of people hostage.
I'll stop. I can't listen to these two guys. I can't tell if people know what's going on when these types of statements are made. I don't even know if they're doing it intentionally. They're just retarded, okay? Hitler was not a methed out psychopath. And that's what happened, LOL. He was a methed out psychopath. No, Hitler had a very intentional start, middle, and end in terms of his rise to power, in terms of his anti-Semitism, and in terms of how he viewed himself as controlling the country, okay? These things are rooted way back after his experiences in World War I. They were found in the ways that he did politics early on in his life. They were found in the shit that he wrote when he was in jail, and they were found in the way that he led his Nazi party up to and through, starting the Third Reich and taking over the country. He was not just a methed out dude. This is apologia when you're trying to claim, and they can say, well, I'm not saying that exactly, because they always say that, because you're not saying anything, right? Why him being on drugs or whatever is not the reason why Nazi Germany happened. And it's an excuse for Hitler's behavior, and it's just, fuck.
A methed out psychopath who was holding an entire nation of people hostage.
Please call this out,
I believe
Douglas.
was the
He
way
also
put it.
said on here that he wasn't anti-Semitic until the Holocaust. There were no speeches of Hitler's in the 1930s.
No, again, this is
No.
Listen, man,
this on your show?
He said he was not public about
He said
it.
he was downplaying it to win. He said there was a
Yeah.
period where he was downplaying it to win over popular support in Germany.
Yeah.
It was his argument.
There is no historian of World War II who thinks that Hitler was downplaying anti-Semitism in the 1930s. That was what he was doing.
Yes.
He wrote a
And in the
book about
20s.
it in the
Yes.
1920s.
Yep.
He got to power on it.
Yep.
And he grew his power on the back of it. The idea that you can argue that in the 1930s, Adolf Hitler was downplaying the anti-Semitism, like, there's no historian who would agree with that. So why would you throw out the idea that in the 1930s, Hitler was not being anti-Semitic in public? That was what he was doing in public. He announces to the German parliament what he wants to do. So when you're throwing out claims like he was keeping it down in the 1930s, first of all, what are you doing? And secondly, why?
Okay. I mean, I think that it's kind of hard because I don't even know exactly what Daryl's point on that was. And
Like, listen to how confused they are. God, I hate these people. Because if Kamala were to come out and she were to say, I think we need to do everything that we can to help everybody succeed in America. What did Kamala mean? Well, let me tell you, okay? When she said what everybody, so that everybody can see, she's talking about equity, she's talking about DEI, she's talking about ESG, she's talking about affirmative action, she's talking about promoting unqualified people, okay, using Hollywood to push a woke agenda. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. But then when it comes to Trump, oh, we can't mind read. I don't know why he told people to go to the Capitol. When it comes to this guy, the Daryl, shitter guy, I don't know why he brought that up. I have no fucking idea. I'm a fucking retard. I have absolutely no clue. I have no theory of mind. I can't conceptualize what any other human being might be motivated by at any point in time ever in my entire, like, come on, bro, really?
And so I'm not really in a position to argue what he was saying there. I don't think you're giving him the most charitable interpretation.
Oh my God, bro. He's actually such a slimy, weaselly little fuck. Like, what do you think? How about we just take a moment and guess? What do you think he was saying this for? Like, do you apply this standard to any other person ever?
I don't need to give him the most charitable interpretation to be able to see
Okay, I
what
think you're
he's
straw
doing.
manning him, I should say.
Look,
Strawman? What part?
anyone can look up what he said on this show and others, what these two guys in particular have said on repeated podcasts with both of you. It's an attempt to downplay Hitler
True.
and always to do down church.
I don't think you
in
downplayed
su-
Hitler.
You're saying
whatever
I've
way they
downplayed
can.
Hitler?
No, I said in conversations with you and others, this is the shtick of these guys. They've decided it's edgy and funny, and I think this is very, very interesting and also very dangerous. Because we live in an era now that the right has got some mojo back in America. We saw years of crazy left overreach, where they tried to make us all say the craziest things. And completely predictably, there are now figures on the right playing with really dark and ugly stuff.
I feel like this guy, I'm being very premature because I haven't watched too much from Douglas Murray. Okay, so he might just be fucking crazy. All right, I admit that I haven't seen too much. But I feel like so far what I've heard from him and then Sam Harris are like the only people that I've seen in the universe, besides me, of course, who were able to say, man, some of this left shit is like really, really far reaching and is like kind of crazy. And then everybody's like, yeah, that's absolutely true. The left did go too far. I don't even think Hitler was that bad of a guy. Like, wait a second, what? I didn't say that. I said the left was like overreaching a little bit. And like, oh, yeah, the left was just like crazy on some stuff. 6 million? It's like, wait, no. Just because they were too far reaching on stuff doesn't mean that we have to go all the way to the other side, right? You know that's retarded, right? Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Like retarded, like what vaccines cause? Like, what the is wrong with you?
On their side.
I agree
and
with
they
that.
are mainstreaming
I don't
this,
think
and I
Daryl's
think it's
doing that.
partly being mainstreamed by the two people I just described.
True.
And both of you have kept speaking to these people.
True.
And you don't
Challenge
get
them.
on the historians who know about this.
Yep.
And that's just alarming to me.
Well, can I just say, so because I kind of do agree with part of what you said there. Like, I do think it is true that almost as a reaction to like the woke insanity that we've seen on the left. And I think
Now he's going to describe it as like other people are being too crazy, but not me. Maybe other people are going too far, but not me.
literally, I think nobody's been a more effective critic of that than you. I do think there has kind of been a right-wing reaction that has
But not Dave Smith. He's not right-wing. He's a centrist. He's a libertarian. He's an independent.
that than you. I do think there has kind of been a right-wing reaction that has embraced racialism and is dangerous and not a good path to
and
go
now
down.
they're flirting with
Now-
Holocaust denial and
Yes,
Hitler
but you're
and
not,
absolving
but
Hitler
I
of blame
think
and
you're
much
wrong.
more.
I think you're wrong to include Daryl in that group. Now,
If
the
you
other thing
can't
is-
include
I'm
Daryl, who are
sorry,
you
'cause maybe I'm
including? Name names. You should ask him to name names. You say, oh, Daryl Cooper's not included? What about Ian Carroll? Is he included? Who? Give us some names then. Who do you think is pushing too far then, if not these two people?
I think you're wrong to include Daryl in that group. Now, the other thing is, I'm sorry, because maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. You're saying people that I've had conversations with
These
have
two guys are
downplayed the
examples
Holocaust.
of this.
Well, who are the two guys?
I
Daryl
just told
Cooper,
you, Cooper and the other
Ian
friend of
Carroll.
yours, and Carroll.
I've never podcasted with Ian Carroll. I have podcasted with Daryl Cooper once, and he absolutely did not downplay any of the Nazi atrocities at all. And I would also.
I wonder if that's even true. If we were to go and look. I don't remember if I've seen clips of it or not.
I think that if we're zooming out here a little bit, maybe this is kind of part of the disconnect. Broadly speaking, in American culture, the idea that it has not been driven into people enough that the Nazis were bad and that Adolf Hitler was he is literally the modern devil. He is much more so than the actual devil, put into people enough that the Nazis were bad and that Adolf Hitler was he is literally the modern devil. He is much more so than the actual devil. Adolf Hitler is what's viewed as the most evil thing, to the point that, I mean, just my entire life growing up, if there was a guy who sold soup on Seinfeld who was like authoritarian, he's a soup Nazi.
Right.
Everyone was Hitler. The left called George Bush Hitler, and they called Obama Hitler, and they called Trump Hitler.
Yes.
Every single enemy that we've gone to war with
Is always called Hitler.
always called Hitler. Saddam Hussein's the new Hitler. Muammar Gaddafi's the new Hitler. Putin's the new Hitler. It is so the idea that like we haven't driven into people enough that Adolf Hitler was a really bad guy.
I'm not saying that at all. I'm not
Okay.
saying that at all. I'm saying just as the left likes to play with very dark, ugly stuff, and they've done it for decades. They have played down Chairman Mao's murder of the Chinese throughout his era in power. They played down Stalin. They still march on occasions with posters of Lenin. They've spent decades trying to do down evils that were done on their side. And I would suggest that one of the things that is going on at the moment is, despite, or maybe because of what you just described, there are movements now on the right in America, subcultures, including people who follow both of you, who are very interested in playing with this
Whataboutism with Hitler.
absolute beyond the pale thing. Why somebody like Jake Shields wants to play around with Holocaust denial? Why?
I can't answer for Jake Shields.
I don't know. I don't know anything
why
about
do you
anybody.
think?
I have no idea.
I can't answer
telling
for
you,
A lot of
anybody.
people get captured by this.
Captured? By how? By who? Where do you think they find it? Where does it start? He's so close. Captured? In what ways?
By audience capture.
Captured by their audience.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
But
you get
not
a
you,
lot
Joe.
of positive reinforcement from
Oh,
a bunch
really?
of twisted people.
Well, it's also, I mean, there's something about,
Interesting.
Michael Malice had that great line. He goes, when you take the red pill, you're supposed to take one and not swallow the whole bottle. And I think there's like this dynamic. What happens is, and of course, people know the red pill is the analogy from the Matrix. The idea that you wake up to realizing that so much of the stuff you believed was bullshit propaganda and is all
Absolutely.
lies. And this is a real danger when the establishment and the institutions are all caught with their pants down, having sold a bunch of very consequential policies based on lies. And then once people realize that, they go, well, what else have they been lying to me about?
And like this would be a good time with my like Douglas Murray is a fucking Trump supporter. But like a good question would be, oh, okay, so you think that the institutions went too far and they did some things that they shouldn't have, and to some extent even I would agree with that. Sure. Do you think that the current administration has done anything like that in the United States?
And then they almost want to look into every single thing and go, yeah, I think the whole thing was lies. Now, I agree with you. There's danger in that. And I think that there are some things that then people jump to conclusions that are totally wrong. But I guess I tend to look at that and go, well, then maybe the people with power, not random podcasters, but like the people with real power, should do a better job of not lying.
What did he just say? Hold on, I misheard that. Because it sounded like he said the people with real power, not podcasters. I thought we just heard about this was the era of alternative media, and this was the era of the podcaster being the most influential person in politics and interviewing presidential candidates. Now podcasters are just nothing?
Tend to look at that and go, well, then maybe the people with power, not random podcasters, but like the people.
Random podcasters, as this guy signs 9-figure deals. 9-figure deals. And he's a random podcaster. Kill me.
People with real power should do a better job of not lying through their fucking teeth about everything.
Well, maybe you have power.
Thank you.
Maybe.
This is what I mean. Okay, he's actually like playing the role of like a responsible, like, influencer, I guess, even though Douglas Murray's not, or I don't think he has a podcast or anything, right? Yeah, but it's like all these other influencers are like, I can't control my audience. I have no control. I don't know anything. I have no idea. It's like, what do you, come on, bro. Seriously?
Okay. You have power, both of you. We live in an era where podcasters have a lot of
significant
power.
influence.
Do you go on a podcast with Jake Shields, and Jake Shields goes on to another podcast and says he doesn't think 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust? What do you think's happening there? That's an exercise of power.
Okay.
Okay? And I agree with you about the breakdown of trust. Absolutely. We have lived through an era where
Give me my
real
goddamn
time,
mech armor.
we saw something called a conspiracy, the Lab Leak, which turns out to be true.
There's still no evidence for that. And there's not any better evidence than there was when they were researching it years ago. But I'll let this one slide. I don't care.
As you and others said it might be from the beginning.
I find that to be very racist.
And against Joe?
How dare you?
Or
Against both of you.
It
Both
used
of you.
to be.
Very
It
racist.
used to be racist
that
when
was
we were
crazy.
saying that it was likely that the COVID variant had come out from the place making COVID variants.
Dude, it's,
Especially
But
since
isn't it
it's
great?
in the exact
Just
town.
seemed like it.
Dude, isn't
Seemed
it
like
the-
it was possible to us.
It's so funny how the dynamics of this almost play out like a like police interrogations, kind of. That we were in an area where the interrogator was applying a whole bunch of pressure to the suspect, and the person was getting like very anxious, and it's hard, and then you ease up on pressure, and when you ease up on the pressure as an interrogator, the other person will often jump on that opportunity to take a deep breath and kind of like feel more relaxed. I don't think he's like doing this intentionally as like an interrogator, but that's like what's happening right now. It's like they found a subject of agreement, and the pressure before was very intense. And now they can take a deep breath and kind of like laugh and joke. It's like, yeah, haha, that stuff was really funny, right?
by the way,
But ask yourself this: who has access to
Your mom.
20 months?
the
Link in the description.
I was referencing the New York Times calling the lab leak racist, which is
Yeah.
just
Oh,
the
yeah.
funniest thing ever. That they go, it's racist to think that there was a sophisticated lab where they were developing like gain of function research.
Is that really what that article was about, if I were to go look it up? Or was the article about the fact that people were actually discriminating against Asian people in the United States of America over the origination of the COVID virus? I wonder what it was actually about, if we were to go look that up. Now, it's the New York Times, and it might have been an op-ed, so it might have been goofy, but I'm curious. Here's what Daryl Cooper said to Dave Smith about Hitler. He's downplaying it, LOL.
I put out a tweet right after the Paris Olympic ceremony at the the Last Supper thing, where I posted a picture of Hitler and his boys walking in front of the Eiffel Tower, and I posted a picture of that Last Supper desecration. And I said that the outcome of the picture on the right was preferable to the one on the left, or something like that, which I took down after a few people who I trust to tell me when I'm out of bounds, like, let me know that they thought I was. But I told them, like, the reason that I did that is I was like outraged by what I was watching at the Paris Olympics, and I was reaching for the most extreme example possible to show to express my outrage about this. And in our society, it's not the devil. If I would have posted a picture of Satan, like looming over the Eiffel Tower, and said that this is better than that, nobody would even got it. It wouldn't have landed at all, because Hitler's the devil, and the Nazis are the legions of hell, and in Germany, like, that's it. Every society has a heaven and hell. Every society has a God and a devil, and they don't have to think of it that way. They don't necessarily, like, it may be in totally different terms. It may be in secular terms. It may be in mythological terms that divide up God into many and devil, the devil into many, evil spirit, whatever it is. But we've all got those. Like, it's just, it's a basic structure of the human mind. And in our society, that's like, it's one of the reasons I'm really convinced that, like, there's always been, just as there's a, like an extreme focus and fascination with World War II and the Holocaust on the side of, you have to treat it as this sacred thing and treat it differently from everything else, and don't be critical about it. There's also, on the other side, there's always just been this like undercurrent somewhere, even if it's just, punk rock thing, or today it's like an online thing or whatever of positive fascination with Hitler and the Nazis. And my way of looking at that is every generation has its devil worshippers, and not all of them are serious. Like people who would say that, I'm a Satanist, a lot of times they're just trolls or whatever. But the devil is always going to attract a certain amount of attention from both directions, And so when you take a historical event like that and elevate it to that level and make it a myth, you're always going to have two sides of that, two extreme reactions to doing that.
Yeah, it's such a funny thing. Like, there's also
Okay, I don't know if he said anything else in the podcast, but this wasn't like absolutely horrible Hitler apology here. So I don't know why I was thinking this. But
I go, no, what happened is these freaks were eating bat heads.
That's
And you're
right.
like, wait, that's not racist?
pretty
The other
racist.
one was racist?
They're eating
Much,
pangolins.
Yeah. But that one fell apart in front of our eyes.
Well, it
And
took
of course,
4
It took
years.
4
Yeah.
years. And I've said repeatedly, it's kind of inevitable to me that if you see something that is called a racist conspiracy theory fall apart and become also what we used to call true in a few years, it's likely to blow a lot of people's minds. But the question then is, do you help those minds that have been blow themselves out some more by doing a whole load of other conspiracy stuff? Do you decide to go, hey, what else have we been lied to? Maybe Churchill wasn't a great guy. Maybe Hitler wasn't such a bad guy. Maybe the Holocaust, etc., etc.
Nobody
And that is
is saying that.
exactly
No
what
one
they're-
is
so
saying maybe Hitler wasn't such a
you
bad
are
guy.
saying that.
No
if you're
one's saying
saying
that.
that in the
You're doing-
1930s, Hitler kept the anti-Semitism down.
No,
No,
listen,
no,
what-
that's not what he's saying. What he was saying is that he didn't do it as publicly. He was doing it in meetings
I know.
because the support for that kind of thinking wasn't as ubiquitous
The
as
thing
it
is,
was.
Joe, is I've seen this before. I know exactly what these guys are drinking. They're drinking a couple of very, very discredited historians like David Irving, and they are just regurgitating. And it was always been the same thing. It is always an attempt to minimize Hitler's anti-Semitism actions. Eventually down the road, you get to minimizing his actual involvement in the Holocaust.
True.
And then you can
Yeah,
go
but you
on to the
can't
next
say that
stage.
about Daryl. It's
Okay,
not
I think
true.
what you're guilty of here is kind of similar to, I think, something that the woke left has done, which is this concept creep, where you're talking about
The woke
some
left.
people online who are doing this thing, and then you're lumping in other people with them. Listen, I'll just say this right now. Daryl Cooper is currently, I believe, almost finished, or he's working on a big World War II series. And
Can't
when
wait.
this comes
What's
out,
it gonna be on?
we can see
podcast.
Yeah, he does long form podcasts. When this comes out,
opposed to all the short
I'm
form
quite
podcasts.
confident to say beforehand that if you're going into it expecting him to be downplaying the atrocities of the Nazis or downplaying the evil things that Adolf
Why
Hitler
are we-
did, you're going to be
Look,
disappointed.
My point is, why are we even talking about this guy?
Because you brought him up.
He's yes, because
he's
he
on your
comes
shows.
on podcasts like this. My point is, this is not a serious historian.
No,
he's not a historian.
He never claims to be. He's been doing these long form podcasts on these subjects for over a decade. And if you go back,
he never claims to be, but he does long form podcasts. Like, I love that you can get all the credibility of a thing, but then constantly say that you're not actually the thing. Must be nice.
to 2015 and listen to Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem, it's an incredible piece. And it's
Excellent.
how many hours long?
30 something.
And it literally starts from the persecution of the Jews, where they're being driven out of Europe. It's like this horrific account of what happens to these people. It's what he's trying to do is paint a picture of how the world goes mad and how the world goes sideways. And he's doing it from the perspective initially of these Jewish people that are living in Europe, that all of a sudden their neighbors are turning on them and they're being attacked. Like it's incredibly charitable. But what he's trying to do is show what happens to human beings when they're confronted with unbelievable atrocities and how things go so
but
incredibly
lots,
sideways.
Lots of people have written and spoken about that.
So why is he not allowed to? I
He
don't
is
understand.
allowed to.
So when
he
he's
is
saying-
allowed.
He is allowed to, but how is he allowed to do it? But then simultaneously you're saying he's just a hobbyist, so you can't like criticize him as a professional. That's the issue, right?
Allowed to. I'm saying that there's a weird way in which figures like him, whose ideas are not being countered when they are raised, are given platform after platform to spread their views. They are welcome to those platforms. I'm not saying they shouldn't be platformed. I'm saying these are very, very fringe figures who are pushing ideas that are either debunked now, have been debunked before, or they will not stand up against somebody who disagrees with them.
Oh, okay, I would just say maybe this is the disconnect here. When you say there's like not pushback, Daryl's one line on Tucker Carlson, this one line where he himself said he was being hyperbolic and kind of says this to prod.
He's going to say there's not pushback, and he's going to point out, what about all the people that he doesn't talk to that push back against him publicly? Oh my God.
His buddy got more pushback than any one line I've ever heard on the
So
podcast.
cringe.
There were numerous articles written by historians, numerous shows that covered it. People went through. There were Twitter threads about it. So I don't exactly get your point. Like, there was lots of pushback. If you're saying he should go and debate somebody who's giving him pushback on that, okay, maybe. I also think it's reasonable for him to say, I don't really do debates.
Yeah, I think it's weird to mainstream very fringe views constantly and not give another side.
True.
I think that's weird.
And everybody knows it.
I mean, okay, I think there's a little bit of a contradiction here. You're saying now that these are fringe views, but then you're also saying that these are enormously powerful
No.
views.
There's
so,
no
like,
contradiction. Let me clear it up if you think there is. I think there are very fringe views that have become mainstreamed on the right.
But then aren't they not fringe by definition?
Well, you can play an epistemological game.
No, I'm just saying
my
what's
You
being
do
God.
understand the concept, don't you?
that fringe ideas become mainstreamed.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
sure.
Thank you for. I like the Daryl just like, why are you being a fucking child? You know what I'm saying, right? Thank you. Yes. Maybe it's just being British. Maybe that's what makes you better. Why are you playing an epistemological game? You said. Why are you playing a game with me? You know what I'm saying, right?
So that's it.
Okay. I'm not exactly sure. So you're saying that Joe shouldn't have Daryl Cooper on?
I'm saying
You never said
you
that.
should debate. That there will have that if you mainstream very, very fringe views, which are easily able to be debunked,
And then you don't debunk them.
If you mainstream them, at some point that view that was so fringe will be what eager, very disconnected, unhappy
Impressionable.
people are going to start playing with too.
Yeah.
And if these people are such experts in how you see a society go weird, they can look at what is happening to a portion of the right everywhere on this stuff. There is a portion of the right across the West that is playing this
Dangerous
very
game.
dark game, and they're doing it deliberately, and you can't not be aware of that.
I am
Well, I
aware of that.
agree with that. I don't think Daryl Cooper is doing that, but I do agree with your characterization.
No, but,
I think it's a pretty important distinction there.
You're just taking this one statement, and then this
Oh my
where he's
God.
trying to joke around with his buddy. This Churchill statement.
It's not just about him.
This is-
Look at the
because
fixation on
He
one
and
thing.
these other guys are all doing the anti-Churchill stuff.
But he's not doing an anti-Churchill
Okay,
stuff.
he and the other
but Churchill
people
was
in the orbit I'm
Churchill was
describing.
the author of this whole Operation Unthinkable, right? Where they wanted to use the Nazis to invade Russia. Wasn't that Churchill?
Look at how. Oh my God! You see all the things in real time. Look at how Joe Rogan went from saying this was all a joke, or it was hyperbolic, or it wasn't that big of a deal, and now Joe Rogan is giving the arguments for why it's correct, or at least partially correct, even though he just spent all this time saying nobody actually believes this. And you just heard Douglas very sigh.
They wanted to use the Nazis to invade Russia. Wasn't that Churchill? Is that not true?
We're going to have to get into the weeds on Churchill. There is always going to be a corner which you can get me on a bit of Churchill.
But that's
you'd
the
have
point.
To, you'd have to
But
say
that's
what
the
you're,
point.
which
is
bit
to
you're
have
talking
a
about.
comprehensive view.
Yeah,
all the-
Churchill was never working with the Germans to invade Russia.
No. This was a plan that was drawn up. Do you know about
Go-
Operation
fire away.
Unthinkable?
Fire
You've
away.
never-
Oh, and so Douglas Murray doesn't know about this particular thing, so now we get into the conspiracy thing. You should always be wary of when somebody gives this idea. This is your number one example of margarine making modules and chips and plants. Oh my God, you're so right. I fucked up. You should always be wary of people that come out here and do this thing where they give you like, didn't this guy draw up a plan, or didn't this guy do this one thing? Because people draw up lots of plans for lots of things, or have lots of ideas for lots of things. That doesn't necessarily mean that the person was going to go along with it, or it doesn't mean that the person agreed with them more than anybody else. Like, just because you draw a plan up doesn't mean you're ideologically married to every tenet that would have come from. Like, it's such an unbelievably bad faith and stupid fucking. Or it's not bad faith. It's, well, no, it is bad faith. The people that offer up these arguments are people that aren't real students of history or don't care about actual history. They're just trying to post hoc rationalize whatever they believe in.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Operation Unthinkable was at the end of the war. I believe Churchill was concerned about the rise of Russia, in the rise of the Soviet Union. And the idea was, and we'll find out what the historical facts are about this. Operation Unthinkable, the name given to two related possible future war plans developed by the British Chiefs of Staff Committee against the Soviet Union during 1945. The plans were never implemented. The creation of the plans was ordered by the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill on May 1945 and developed by the British Armed Forces Joint Planning Staff in May 1945, the end of World War II in Europe. One plan assumed a surprise attack on the Soviet forces stationed in Germany to oppose the will of the United States, the will of the United States and the British Empire upon Russia.
Wow.
The will was qualified as a square deal for Poland, but added that does not necessarily limit the military commitment. The assessment signed by the Chief of Army Staff on 9 June 1945
Right.
concluded